Welcome back, you guys. Hope you're doing well. And there are only 3 teams in the NBA that are both top 10 in offensive rating and defensive rating. Those teams are the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, and the Toronto Raptors, who are currently first in the Eastern Conference and have been playing great basketball all year. If you have not been paying too much attention, ask anyone that has watched 1 or 2 Raptors games and they will let you know that this is not the same old team from previous seasons. The Raptors have looked over their past failures and evolved into a team that is tougher to defend and harder to score on. Let's talk about how they changed and why the team has a legitimate chance at making the NBA Finals in a couple of months. As always, definitely subscribe to keep up with the videos I will be dropping as the playoffs are coming very soon, and definitely don't hesitate to drop a comment on your thoughts on this year's Raptors team. When the Raptors got swept last year by the Cavs, their GM Masai Ujiri said that the team needed a culture reset, and it looked like Dwayne Casey was finally going to be fired. He's been on the hot seat for a few years now, but instead of firing Casey, the Raptors got together and decided it was time to move past their old ways of isolation basketball and push towards being a team that moves the ball more, has better spacing on the court, and begin to develop their younger talent. At first, Kyle Lowry said he was hesitant about the new switch on offense, but he slowly became more convinced during the preseason. He said this in an interview: "The three-point game is helping us evolve. It's spacing us out a lot more. I think it helps with everything. It helps us with spacing, pace, understanding where we all want to be on the floor." They first implemented the offense in the 2017 Summer League, and Fred VanVleet had this to say about the new system: "It's tough at first when you're trying to change something that drastically. You've got to over-exaggerate it at first just to implement a new culture, a new way to do things. They were harping on things pretty hard." Obviously, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry are their 2 best players, but they're less dependent on both of them as shot creators. Neither of them has to be the team's best player every night in order for them to win. You have to give a lot of credit to Dwayne Casey and the Raptors for being able to change the way they play in just one offseason without switching up too much of their personnel. Players that are 5 or 6 years into the league usually get set into their ways, and if you've won 50 games in back-to-back seasons like the Raptors, why change what has been working? It has gotten them this far, but the team was becoming stagnant. DeRozan and Lowry have bought into the new system, and when your best guys buy in, it's that much easier to get your young guys that didn't play much last year to buy in and believe in the system. This was a top-down effort. Credit to the Raptors from the top of the organization to the people on the court. Everyone has bought into the new system. Everybody is on the same page. Do you guys remember the talk about the Raptors before the start of the season and how people were saying, how are they going to replace their production of PJ Tucker, Corey Joseph, Patrick Patterson with a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds? That was one of the questions about them going into the season. How are they going to be successful when Lowry and DeRozan were off the floor? Well, they answered that question by putting out not just one of the best bench units in the NBA, but by far the best bench unit in the league. The lineup of Fred VanVleet, DeLon Wright, CJ Miles, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl has a 29.9 point differential per 100 possessions, which is the best in the NBA. If the starting lineup is not playing well, Dwayne Casey can send out his second starting lineup and get the team back in the game. Or if the starting lineup is playing well, the bench unit will extend that lead and get the starters some rest for most of the fourth quarter. Usually when a team's starters are stinking it up, the team will end the night with an L, but that is not the case if you have the Raptors bench mob. I really like this unit. The way they play defense is so fun to watch, and they give up nothing easy. Jakob Poeltl and Pascal Siakam can switch and defend on the perimeter. It is extremely tough for other bench players to exploit them, and not to mention they give up almost nothing inside. They are great defenders at the 4 and 5. CJ Miles is the only player that's kind of weak defensively in that lineup, but he makes it up with his 3-point shooting. My favorite player on the bench is Fred VanVleet. He doesn't just play in their bench unit either. A lot of times VanVleet will close out games next to Lowry and DeRozan. Not only does he close out the games, but he'll be handling the ball while Kyle Lowry is spotting up somewhere on the court. The Raptors have reduced their dependence on Lowry as a playmaker. He no longer has to be Toronto's best player for them to win, and that makes them a lot harder to defend in previous seasons, where you'd see Lowry and DeRozan try to bail out the offense with isolations the entire fourth quarter. Everyone is moving, the ball doesn't stick, and they shoot the 3. You have to be prepared for Ibaka out there, and even Valanciunas occasionally will pop a 3. They even got Malcolm Miller out of the G League hitting threes and playing good minutes for them. This is a deep team. Here's one thing I have to add. Everyone keeps mentioning that the benches shrink in the playoffs and the Raptors' big rotation won't matter as much in May, and you could be right, but the good thing about having a deep bench is that it's going to allow them to have tons of adjustments depending on who they play. If you remember back during the 2016 playoffs when they almost lost to the Pacers, they actually sat DeMar DeRozan for Norman Powell in Game 2 and won the game. There's not many teams that can bench their best player in the fourth quarter and win a playoff game, so if Kyle Lowry or somebody else on the Raptors starting unit is ever struggling or getting exploited in a matchup, Coach Dwayne Casey has a lot of players he can mix and match in depending on the situation, and that's a big thing for them when they're trying to get to the finals. To use the Warriors as an example, adjustments was what led them to find their death lineup with Draymond Green at center that worked out so well when they were down 2-1 in the finals in 2015. The playoffs are all about matchups and adjustments, and the Raptors are going to have an answer for almost everyone in the East. There isn't much I can say about DeMar DeRozan that hasn't already been said this year. He is a much different player this year. He had a style of play in previous seasons that got people calling him a black hole and a ball stopper, but he's shattered that notion. One of the reasons why he's helped their offense get to the third best in the NBA is that he's taking a lot more threes and he's better at passing out of double teams. This has been his best year as a decision maker, whether to create for himself or find someone that could be open after he draws in the defense with his driving. For the last part of the video, everything goes back to this Masai quote. The one-on-one basketball we play, we have to question that. We have to really look at it, look at the league, and evaluate the way we play and say, hey, is this working? They were ranked 6th in offensive rating last year and could have easily just done the same thing they did last year for this season, but the Raptors were at a breaking point. It was time to change, and this Raptors squad is now different. Yes, the Raptors may have to run into playoff LeBron James, and that's always tough to deal with. If there's a situation where OG Anunoby gets into foul trouble, you have to start to wonder who can defend him, but guarding LeBron is going to be a team effort. The Raptors have a great team defense, and they are not easy to score on. Plus, the Cavs are always going to be in a strategic disadvantage because of Coach Lue, and we still have to see what they look like with everyone healthy, but there's no Kyrie Irving here on the team to help LeBron on the perimeter. Let's not even get started on their defense. This Cavs team has a lot of holes. The Raptors have been slightly disappointing in the playoffs in the past few years, but I mean, they did run into the best player in basketball 2 years in a row and took 2 games from him in 2016. With the Celtics getting hit hard by injuries and the Cavs looking more vulnerable than ever, the combination of the Raptors' team defense, their bench, and new offense has put them in the best position ever to make the NBA Finals. And that's it for me and why the Raptors have NBA Finals chances and why they should be the favorites out of the East as of now. I have no issue being wrong because we still have to see them win 3 playoff series, but from what we've seen so far through the regular season, I feel confident about their chances. This isn't the same team. They're no longer relying on their old ways to win 50 games. This is a team effort. Give credit to the players, give credit to Masai Ujiri for switching up the culture, and definitely give credit to Dwayne Casey. He has a chance at Coach of the Year. What about your thoughts? Do you believe in this Raptors team, or do you think they will get knocked out in the conference finals or earlier? If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you because not everyone makes it to the end, and I'll see you guys soon.